Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as we invite you to be a part of today's discussion, we want you to recognize the importance of continuing education as we talk to good friends over at UCCI. Stay tuned for Talk Today. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And until about quarter two, somebody says 12:45, others will say, "Well, is that 15 to?" Well, you figure it out. For us, it's 12:45, quarter to 15 to. Mr. Cleveland Julian from UCCI, as we talk about Resemble, will share with us. And congrats again. This is not only a wonderful initiative from, as we shared, the project writing, the proposal, to the funding, but to the opportunity for the 5,000, I think, that we're going to feed with this program. How are you, sir?
7 loaves and 2 fishes, yeah.
There you go.
Doing very well. Good to be with you and the Radio Cayman family as always.
All right. If we could, and I want to make sure that we be respectful to your time, use the resource appropriately. What is Resemble? Just a quick overview. Tell us about the participants. Tell us about what we need. I can learn more every day.
Absolutely. And so it's always a pleasure for us to talk about Resemble. Super excited about it at the university. Resemble is a grant, as we talked about before, that was issued by the European Union in collaboration with the French expertise team. And they have endowed us with close to 450,000 euros to be able to recruit, train, and intern 50 Caymanians in areas of tourism management, sustainable construction, ICT, computer technology related to sustainability, and solar, specifically renewable energy.
Mm-hmm. And that's fascinating because now you've had sort of the selection process, the applications. Where are we now?
Yeah, and so we have successfully enrolled 55 students into the program. And so you might recall that our original goal was 50. And I think one of the most excruciating jobs was to figure out which 50 to actually enroll, because all the participants were super excited, super eager to be a part of the program, but we only have so much resources. And so our goal was to get the best 50 that we can find. And so we have successfully recruited 18 students for tourism management, roughly 10 to 11 students for solar, 17 students for ICT, and another 8 students for sustainable construction.
Yeah. And what is fascinating is that you sometimes you have a target. And in this case, with education, it's always good to exceed that. You wanted 50, you get 10% more. But you also had significantly more applicants as well. And sadly, in some instances, you invite people looking for 10 spaces and you struggle to find one. In this case, you had a 20% browser.
Yeah, we had close to 162 people apply for the program. So we literally can accept about 100 of them.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really great plug for our partners. So we are working in collaboration with Work to provide some very basic but useful training to the people who weren't able to attend this program, so that at least if not with Resemble, they're taking a next step in skill development for themselves. So I'm very proud to be able to work with Work to be able to get that done. And
as I speak to you, I'm thinking that with this we can see, you guide me, it's almost like a waiting list for something. We can only take so many now, but maybe the next season you can come in. Maybe these people will be able to get on board then, or through their sort of involvement now in awareness, they share it with other people, so that hopefully there'll be demand for another cohort, the ability to, with the partnership, to do so. But it also shows that the areas that you're targeting are areas that people are interested in, areas that will provide employment and education opportunities.
Absolutely. And the thing about this that was really important for us to be able to do and to be able to show the grantors, because ultimately when people make resources available for you, the goal is that you don't come back for resources every single year, but you figure out how to make the program sustainable in itself. And so as a university, as a TVET cohort, our focus is how do we recruit people into our program? How do we provide them with training and support necessary for them to get all the way to the end? And what we recognize with our student population, it's more than just training. There are a lot of soft skills, social support that we need to provide them as well as they begin to sort of make that change.
Right. Now, with that, everything we call stakeholders, they're always a partnership that we need. We need money to do it, we need a space to do it, we need people to do it, but we also need all the other supporting cast. In this instance, are there areas, you talked last time about, volunteers, mentors, and the like. They all come in just like fans in a stadium. If they're not there, the team mightn't feel as motivated. Are there things that you need, people that you need?
Yeah, and so this is the reason why we're here today, right? So, this is, we have a bunch of adjuncts that we have recruited to teach various courses. Check the box on that. I think we have an excellent team at the university doing that. And so the next phase of this, now that our students are in the classrooms and beginning, some of them for the first time, to really interact with tertiary level like material, the next part of it for us is how do we begin to help them develop the skills needed to be successful interns, first and foremost, and then ultimately to be successful employees. And so what we have identified is a core set of skills that might be useful for that, but also recognizing that we need individuals as well to be able to share this experience along with our students so that personally and professionally there is somebody who is able to give them sound advice and guidance on how they ought to be conducting themselves, and especially if they are industry-specific individuals, really about how to navigate the industry to be most successful. And so we're looking for mentors, right, to be able to come alongside our students, commit to sitting with them twice a month, an hour or so twice a month, and provide reporting and feedback to us at the institution so that we are making resources available to those students as need arises.
Right. Okay, so let's pause and take the quick break. When you come back, tell us more about it. What you need, what is the ask of us, how we can partner. And if I could, you talked about the 55 students. You told us the areas in the distribution. If it's not inappropriate, male and female, maybe age distribution, whatever you can, so that the community realizes that the programs on our campus, it's for male and female. It's for all ages. You just have to know it's available and apply yourself. Maybe give us some specifics if you can.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cleveland Julian, UCCI, you talk about the resilience program. Stay tuned for Talk Today. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. And in the studio, as we talk about the program at UCCI, Resembled, Mr. Cleveland Julian, the program coordinator, program director, program extraordinaire, the program
officer. That's it.
Hey, listen, man, we need to elevate as we find a little bit of levity in what we say. If it's just too good not to laugh, and especially if we face much. But this is a phenomenal undertaking, and almost in a sense, almost unprecedented. There are similar examples, but from the research, right into getting the grant to the approach as to what we're trying to do and the areas that were selected. So you have 55 students. We need mentors, we need volunteers. What do we need and how do we get them in? Tell us more.
Absolutely. And so we sort of broke up the volunteer need into two groups.
Mm-hmm.
The first group is really the just pure volunteers and what roles we have that we would love to have some assistance with.
Okay.
Role number one is event coordinators. And so over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be hosting a series of events. We've already started on Fridays where we bring in sector leaders, industry leaders into our spaces so that our students can interact with the influential individuals in renewable energy, sustainable construction, tourism management, and be able to understand from them how the four sectors that we are focusing on really work together. And so that as our construction students learn in their silos, they're now interacting with students in all the other groups so that they have an understanding of how tourism relates to
cross-pollination.
Ideal. I think the learning experience won't be adequate unless we're able to actually do that. And so individuals who are really good at events management would be an asset here for us. So if that's you, if that's your passion, if that's your interest, and you have time available, we would love for you to reach out to us regarding that. And also really internship coordination. And so as our students find their way into these internship opportunities, how are we tracking them? How are we tracking their performance? How are we tracking their behavior change? How are we tracking the information coming back from the employers in terms of how our students are doing? And so managing that process so that our students are having the sort of experience we want them to have, where they're getting a chance to really exercise the skills that we're trying to train them on, is really critical. So internship coordinators, event coordinators, and finally student coordinators or mentors. So this is the biggest group. And so we have 55 students. Honestly, I would love to have 55 separate mentors.
Yeah.
And so each one of them has an individual that they can actually relate with. And so if you are in tourism, if you are in ICT, sustainable construction, renewable energy, seek us out. Now, it doesn't mean that those are the only industries. If you are a professional working successfully in a space, 25 years plus, and you have acquired a set of skills related to how do you perform at your highest level in an employment environment, then your voice may be very important to that conversation. If you've had past experience working responsibly with young people, then we certainly won't want you to reach out to us.
So for those mentors, just want to repeat it back to make sure I understood. It would be nice that if they are in that particular sector, to take the students that are trained in that area to say, hey, this is how you navigate. But then I'm also hearing you share that if that mentor is someone who's in a completely different sector, but the skill sets are transferable. This is what it takes to succeed. A mentor is someone who helps to guide, nurture, and what Carla A. Harris talked about, be your facility, your greatest champion, right? So that person could also apply.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. For those of us who have served as mentors or are serving, in this specific instance, what are you looking for with a mentor? Sometimes the mentee will shadow the person in the organization for a day. Sometimes they'll meet, outside of the working day. Maybe they'll go for breakfast, they'll have an early morning tea or an evening tea, whatever. And just to be able to, hey, how things are going, are you getting through? What are you asking of the mentors in this instance?
Yeah, and so the ask for us is really clear. The first one of which is to attend a training and orientation.
Okay.
That training will be held on the 16th of August at 6 to 7:30 at UCCI at the Cascade Room.
Is that next Tuesday?
That is next Tuesday,
okay.
Right, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And we're going to be giving an orientation to the program and to all of the various roles and asks.
Okay.
In terms of responsibilities, it really starts with that meeting. The next ask would be on the 19th, where if you decide after that session that you're going to pursue this, then come and meet the student and have lunch with us on the 19th. And so by that time, we would have given you a student assignment. You will get to interact with the person you're going to be working with, and you get to interact with them as an overall group. Those are the two really first critical aspects of the participation. And then what we're looking for is that, you can give us about 2 hours a month, and preferably to meet with this individual one-on-one if appropriate. All right. And so every other week, sit with them either at a cafe, maybe you come at the school, some responsible environment in public. Obviously, you have to be very careful how you manage that process.
Thank you for stressing that. That's so key these days. Huh?
Right. And certainly we'll go into a lot more of that when we actually have them in there. Right. And so we're not trying to sort of restrict how you do it, but certainly we'll be giving guidelines on how you want to be responsible around doing so. And then to be able to provide us with timely reports. Again, the ask is not big. Twice a month, you get to submit a quick report on how the session was, what was learned, what information do you think we should have so we can better sort of support the students. And then showing up for the events where we celebrate their success. So show up for the orientation, show up for the lunch, commit to 2 hours a month meeting with them and adequately reporting that information back. And then showing up when we celebrating their graduation and the various milestones in the program.
Can I throw you, and you guide me to this carefully. I know a lot of us have a good heart and we're genuine and want to help. And we're listening, 2 hours a month? I mean, it's 24 hours a day. Sure, I can find 2 hours a month. We commit to it, but then we realize that I only have 20 minutes sometimes to have lunch, for the month, much less a day. Look carefully as much as you want to, can you commit that time? Because it's not going to be 2 hours. It's going to be a little bit more sometimes, but at least 2 hours. So get that potential mentor thinking seriously about, follow your heart, but can you commit the time?
Yeah, absolutely. And just so that, I am all out committed to this. So, during the interview process, I have already identified my 5 students that I'll be mentoring personally. And so,
can I be one of them?
We got to get to the program first.
There you go.
But for me, I love to mentor outside of the learning environment. Yes. So I might meet them at Starbucks. We'll grab a cup of coffee.
I have other preference other places, but you can go there. Bougie.
What really works, I think, with young people is doing an activity with them, and while you're doing it with them, you're sort of having a conversation. So it's less formal. And so
food goes a long way, man.
Absolutely. So we might give some coaching around best practices around that, but really we're looking for the mentors to responsibly think of environments that they can
meet them where they are, man.
Meet them where they are.
All right. And with that, then you're sharing as a mentor, your life experiences, helping them to navigate the next path. We started mid-August. And we're continuing. This is a 1-year program to the mentor, like the volunteers, throughout the school year, which will be till 25, 26. No, next year, June, July.
Absolutely. And so the formal training for this program, all of them should be ending up just around January, February of 2023. The internship period should then be starting in February to April of that year, and then we ending the program around May, June of 2023. What I would love is for this friendship, this connection with this mentor to be taken all the way through. Right? Okay. Listening to our students, understanding their needs, at least what have been presented thus far. We need long-term commitment here. So as you begin to consider whether or not this is a good fit for you, what I would ask is if you're going to raise your hand and say yes, please commit to being with them all the way to the end.
Right. And then for the mentors to sort of be considered, what's the application process?
Yeah, and so, and we have already received quite a few of these, but we certainly need more. And so on the UCCI webpage, if you go to ucci.edu.ky/resembid, RESEMBID, you will then get a site that allows you to register as a potential mentor.
Okay.
And once we get that information, we'll forward you the invite for next Tuesday's training.
Okay. So that's the mentor. You also mentioned volunteers. You talk about the event, and then the ones that would sort of manage the student activities for internships, the coordinators and the like. The events sort of straightforward, I think. Come along, bring your skill sets, help us to put together certain things, make sure that they occur from the lunch that you have on the 19th. What time is the lunch and what's being served? It's on the 19th.
You should really sign up for a mentor role. That's really where we need you.
Wow, hey. I appreciate the endorsement, man. I mean, no, you know what? It's I joke and jest, but I've given it consideration with that. I might take it on board because we've all benefited from having someone, not just in our own sector, just someone that helps to nurture, to guide, and sometimes protect us from our own ambitions. Hey, that's a good thing, but before you jump to 3, did you look at 1 first? And they have that expertise and that insight.
I love what you just said. One of the second set of skills we're teaching them beyond setting goals is this skill of knowing your limitations and being able to find. And so I've never heard it phrased that way, but managing our ambitions, I think that's a great way to do it. But those are all really critical skills and conversations that a young person, either by age or by work experience, needs to be able to hear. And at the end of the day, you and I both know that success lies between our two ears. And having somebody else who believes in your ability to finish this might be just what that young person needs to
that
make
is
it all the
so
way through.
Key. Having someone that is going to believe in you. The greatest athletes sometimes won't have the success without that coach, whether it's the technical coach or that person whispering confidently, honestly, hey, you got this. I'm there with you. And, we go back to some of the historical events and we see the person running alongside. It's dramatized in the movie. But that's the reality of what happens. You need to be there with that person, as much as you can every step of the way. It's not hand-holding. It's not coddling. It's inspiring. It's nurturing. It's providing an environment. And the more we do that, the more the success becomes in the heart. Just a thought.
I'm just going to step by and have you finish this interview.
And I said, we're going to do it today, man. Let's rise. No, I just love this place, man. I have a big ask of us that is simple. Let's work together. Love one another, put aside our ignorance and our egos, and we find that we have greater success. But maybe easier than said and done. Huh?
I got to tell you, and if any one of them are listening on this call, every single one of these 55 students we have in this program, I believe in the ability to finish this, right? Okay. And so we're just trying to put together pieces that I think will give us a greater chance of getting it done.
Right. Well, the invitation stands throughout the program to always come in person or by phone to update us, right? And I want to be respectful. You got to get back. I'm at work. You got to get back there as well. Although you're on a job now. That's the ask and the information for the mentors. For the volunteers, for them to sign up, it's the same
process.
Okay. And we're just asking of them, what's their commitment? Same time period. What sort of things we're asking of the volunteers?
Yeah, so the volunteer may have a little bit more of a heavy lift, and so, but we try to keep your commitment somewhere between 3 and 5 hours for the entire week. And so you will also be supported by internal interns at UCCI so that you are able to manage this ask we're having. So 3 to 5 hours a week for our non-mentor volunteers. And again, we ask you to be able to put that commitment in place for now and June of 2023.
Right. And for that coordinator who's going to help you with the sort of the internships part, is it that they're going to be seeking on behalf of the students potential internship opportunities with the different sectors as well as other stuff? Is that what you're asking of me?
Yeah. So especially for your internship coordinators, be able to match employers, taking the employers, what their needs are internally, and so that when we are building up our database and information on our students, we are accurately matching student needs to what the employees need to have. And so our job, I think, would be made more effective if we can properly match students with employment opportunities. Right? That's a good match for their skills.
And I can think of a number of people, and not just students who are studying, human resources or similar sort of areas, but people who just connected to the community. There are many times when someone is looking for employment, even these times, and someone is looking to hire. You just facilitate. We're just doing documentation and follow up and making sure that the partnership continues.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're going to try and develop the skills with them internally. Just help us to keep them accountable to the ask.
I asked as we go into the break and as we close it out, we got 55 students. just quickly, male, female are included.
Absolutely.
Ages thereabouts from what, 18 to 81.
Yeah. So we have most of our students are between the ages of 19 and 45.
Mm-hmm.
Our average age is 32.
Mm-hmm.
80% of our participants are males. 20% of our participants are
Mhm.
females. The vast majority of them have high school education or less.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of heart, a lot of
Yeah.
energy, but certainly would need help, developing the other skills that would make them successful here.
Well, I'm very grateful that my insistence earlier when I heard about it, reaching out. Even we haven't announced it yet. How do you know about this? That you're coming on, and hopefully through this platform we can get a greater buy-in across the entire country, from the participants to the volunteers to the mentors, but even to those. I use the word benefactors. The grants may not be available overseas. Maybe they'll be here within our shores, and this is just 55 this year. Next year it may be 500.
That's it.
That's
the key.
All right. Well, let us know how we can help. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Julian?
No, first of all, thanks for always giving us an opportunity to really
Mm-hmm.
share the successes and the progress here. I think the more people know, the more they would be likely to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if I haven't said it enough, we need your participation.
Right.
Cayman. I mean, the success here is really for all of us if we're able to pull this off, but we can't get it done without effective mentors and volunteers.
All right. Go on the website. I have it here, but you say what? It's www.ucci.edu.ky. Is that a / Resembid? RESEMBID?
Correct.
RESEM. Come on, sing it for us. DJ Lynn, come on.
RESEMBID.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes you just got to dig deep and laugh, but when you got good people in a fond memory in your mind, it makes it easier. So look positively at what a life ahead brings, right? All right, thanks very much, and we'll do our best to continue to remind. Let us know, whether in person or in phone call, what we can do to help. And thanks for the vote of confidence, one.
Always appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
Let's pause and take that break, and when we come back, hoping a good friend will join us so that we can have an opportunity to chat and to inspire, to nurture, to perhaps cause us to be more pensive and insightful as we look, into things in a very, deliberate, positive manner. Stay tuned for Talk Today. Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And I keep thinking, it'd be nice if I knew more about the technology here. So that when my guests come into the studio, we could have little announcements. Dun, 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 dun. Well, I want to present to our listening audience and those who are viewing a good friend, Mr. Mario D. Rankin. Is it raining outside, my friend?
It's raining outside, my brother.
Well, I'm glad I'm inside. Don't get my hair wet, man.
No, God just decided to bless me on my way in.
Amen, brother. Amen.
That's all.
All right, listen, welcome, man. And I would hope and pray, right, that the invitations I extend to other people, that they will be encouraged by your participation from two perspectives. To show that we have what is my view, and I think it's shared by all of us, because I think it's accurate. Radio Cayman is owned and operated by us, for us, funded by us, and it's an invaluable community service. The other evening I was coming home from an event, and the music that was playing was just amazing. All right, mornings that we leaving a little bit early, there's this what I call inspirational sort of, nurturing music. Then we get the news, we get different things, and there's something for everybody. Hopefully even through the talk shows, but specifically the talk shows, we get people listen to our guests. They'll now feel equally encouraged, inspired. Come on and share a perspective. And you have, been very, very, very inspiring and encouraging others to share. So thank you very much for coming on board, my friend.
And always thank you for the extended invitation to come on whenever you have a free moment, and certainly I do my very best to accommodate and come in, and when I do have a free opportunity to come in, it's not always been where on a moment's notice, but I do my best.
No, but and that's the thing, you see, it's we can plan, and I'm one of those people that I joke and say it this way. Someone close to me once said, "Man, you're the only person I know that can plan to be spontaneous." Right? For someone, spontaneity isn't natural. It isn't easy. Right? We just can't drop what we're doing to go do this thing. What do you mean you're gonna have a barbecue? You're gonna come over now? I'm hungry and you got good food and you expect me to come now? Yeah, because I'm thinking of you and I decided I'm gonna do this. Right? The other people, so barbecue on August the 15th, 2046. I'll be there. Put it in my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 years later, we're looking forward to it. But the way I say that is that we need to embrace the moment, think, plan, prepare, but also give thanks for the now.
Well, I mean, even when I'm not on Radio Cayman, which is not as often as I used to be back in the day, I still take the time to listen to Radio Cayman during the talk show hours. Yeah. Because I like to stay informed. I like to hear what's going on. I listen to OC and on his morning shows. And I listen to you in your afternoon shows whenever I'm in the car. And I do it out of purely wanting to stay updated on most things. And this is a great platform for open dialogue, to have a conversation. And the thing is that the less we victimize people or make people feel as if they're being victimized for expressing their views or concerns or anything on this radio station, the better off we'll be. And I have a podcast that I broadcast 3 days a week when I can, and I talk about it all the time, and I encourage people, and I just got a YouTube channel back up and running, and so we good, and I interact with people on that platform, and you'll be shocked. You'll be really shocked the interest level of these sorts of platforms that have open dialogue and freedom of speech, and people can express how they feel. Within reason, obviously. Right. You got your limitations, but listen, we're at a very critical point in Cayman history where I could arguably say that we got more smart, innovated, out of the box Caymanian harvest than we've ever had before. Now, I deliberately left out ambitious because I think you gotta come really good to match your ambition to our forefathers who went off to sea with a third grade education
If that much.
To work, and some with none.
Yep.
To work in environments that not only foreign to them, but also new to them, and came back as engineers and captains and chefs and deck. I mean, it's an amazing feat that they accomplished.
Yeah, and with the respect of not just their co-workers, but the people who were their managers or the owners of the thing. There are many of us, I think, who can, without any prompting, easily recall. Yeah?
Well, let me just make this. Let me just make this point on this radio station, since this radio came on.
Yeah.
You see all of the commerce that went on in Cayman while our men were at sea. You know who dollars funded those stores, those supermarkets, those hardware stores? You know who dollars funded them and kept them going? And probably 90% responsible for today's wealth that they have is the men who went to sea and sent their money back home to take care of their families.
And as you see, that speaks to the partnership that existed. The men worked, sacrificed, did their thing, their service. The women that were left, the mothers, the daughters, the grandmothers, the sisters, the aunts, they were the stewards. We talk about the Proverbs, 31 woman, and we see that. So these women became, the business people. They became the contractors, the project managers, the educators. The teachers within the religious setting.
That's why I struggle. That's why I struggle when I hear people who are not from Cayman and don't understand Cayman history repeatedly call us lazy. Right? I'm not telling you that we don't have lazy people. I'd never say that.
No.
Right? But the reality is that we come from a lineage and we come from a stock that is next to none. And if anybody is familiar with Daniel Ludwig, and if you're not familiar with Daniel Ludwig, go online, download his memoirs, and you'll hear him speak specifically about the Caymanian people.
Yeah, and this is, as you said that, right, this is not just the respect of the colleagues, but the owners I talked about. These are people who saw it. But the Ludwigs only reflect, when we're building the railroad in Key West.
Well, the thing is, for a lot of people who don't know who Daniel Ludwig is, he's the gentleman that created National Bulk Carriers. Yeah. And he also was one of those people whose family's wealth helped fund J.P. Morgan and a lot of those titans of America. But he wasn't one of those people who wanted to be out front.
Yeah.
You understand? But at the end of the day, it is a reflection on the lineage and the ability and the stock in which we all stem from. We all stemmed from. So when we have created an environment where a person can say that, we working here because Caymanians don't want to do that job or they lazy. When we have that going around becoming our new stigma, we need to fix that.
Right. As we go into the news break, you said, what sort of irks you when people from outside say that we're lazy. What makes it even more egregious to me is when our own say it and repeat it.
But I don't blame them. That's where they got it from.
Yeah. And say your own flea bites you the hardest.
That's right. That's right.
And there are many things that perhaps have transpired in our society. I'm not, going to shy away from it, but we don't need to belabor it. There are problems with mental health issues, mental unwellness, undiagnosed ADHD of whatever sort of flavor that existed in our society that we didn't understand. So that person that may not have been able to function in a sustained, sort of period of time to do something, they needed breaks. We didn't understand it then. We still don't understand it significantly now. But we're not a lazy people, and to hear that repeated sometimes, I say it this way, and if it offends people, sometimes you just need to give somebody a good, long, hard stare. That's what happens.
It's a difference when someone says something with doubt. But when somebody says something with confidence, I mean, it came from a source that convinced them that this is how it is.
Right. Well, I don't know what's worse, to be called lazy or be saying, oh, you're too ambitious. I was accused of that.
Or overqualified. Imagine you can't get a job because you're overqualified. That happens in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. To some of us. Let's pause. Come back. This is where I always invite you to participate. You're a strong intellect, a man of courage. Let's pause and take a break, and when we come back, more talk today.
Your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing wishes to advise the public that all its offices will be closed on Thursday, August 11th, 2022, to facilitate a staff meeting and training workshop. All offices of DVDL will resume business as usual on Friday, August 12th. In international news, the U.S. Senate has approved a sweeping $700 billion economic package that includes major legislation on health care, tax, and climate change. The bill seeks to lower the cost of some medicines, increase corporate taxes, and reduce carbon emissions. The passing of the bill, a flagship part of President Joe Biden's agenda, is a boost ahead of midterm elections, but it is a significantly scaled-back version of the $3.5 trillion package that was first proposed by his administration. China's military says it is continuing large-scale military drills around Taiwan after its previously announced live fire exercises ended on Sunday. The Chinese Army's Eastern Theater Command would practice anti-submarine attacks and sea raids. The earlier 4 days of exercises were Beijing's response to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island. Taiwan has accused China of using these drills as practice for an invasion of the island. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And the phone lines are available to you. It's a free, toll-free call. The compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. 1-800-534-8255. Use that number to call us here and talk today, and use it for the record. But also 949-8837, and then you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Mario D. Rankin sits with us, and at the outset we were talking about Radio Cayman being a platform that facilitates, encourages and nurtures open dialogue, and hopefully through that we get a sense of acceptance and tolerance and an ability to share at times what may be competing views, for someone to say, listen, I'm not sure if anybody's thought about this, I may be the only voice, but they can present that. And as I think we've always said, let's be respectful and responsible, but just because your voice may be the only voice doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean equally that if your voice is one in a chorus of 1,000, that it's right either. But you need to be able to know that you can have a voice in an area that is safe. That if presumably this is a democracy, and there is no thought police out there just yet. Hey, we should be able to speak our minds and share our sentiments. But Mario, that is something that I'm concerned is being lost. The self-imposed censorship, because we are fearful that someone's going to castigate us, or we get disinvited, or boy, they're going to think bad because you said this or that or the next thing, which is limiting and debilitating at times.
Well, I mean, the truth is that well, in my case, uniquely, I've already been victimized to the fullest extent of their abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say their abilities, meaning the system and the people who are in the system and the people who feel threatened by people who threaten the system. So the thing is that how do we encourage people to be brave and speak their minds and have a conversation or be a part of the conversation that could either create awareness, and then that awareness will then trigger ideas, and then those ideas will trigger solutions, and then those solutions will then maybe encourage somebody to implement them. Right? But along that path, we seem to find a lot of obstacles being created in order to deter.
Mm-hmm.
But there are only a few people who are willing to fight the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I have a million reasons, literally a million reasons, to not ever speak publicly on behalf of anything in Cayman ever again, right? But because that's not how I'm built, I'm not built that way.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Right.
And
I was at my office, in the little office that I have where I broadcast out of my little studio, and I had an opportunity to speak with 3 Caymanians, all younger than I am. One very, very young. And they worked for a company. I won't call them names, obviously. And they came to check my internet service because I was having trouble with it, right? And I was having a conversation with them, and they were telling me that they were listening to the show earlier, and they heard what I was speaking about. The utilities and the cost of fuel, and you know what we can do in order to alleviate that and whatnot. So I gave them a scenario, and this is a scenario I could share here because it's not, there isn't any legal rights to a good solution. Like, you didn't patent it, you don't own it, so I'm not violating your rights to any idea that I may have in my head. So again, I said to them, I said, guys, like, listen to this. I said the utility company burns 40 to 45 million gallons of diesel per year. 140 to 142,000 gallons per day. Okay, so that's about 40-something million gallons a year. All right, take those numbers, and you don't need to be a math genius, ladies and gentlemen. Just pull out a calculator. Let the calculator be your genius. Okay? And you times 45 million by $1. That's $45 million, right? That's easy mathematics. All right. You take that $1 now and you split it up in 4 ways, 25 cents each. So that's $45 million split 4 ways. Now, if we were to take 4 collective families in the Cayman Islands who are struggling, have the ambition, have the knowledge, have the education to do well, but just don't have the resources. We take 4 families and we allocate 25 cents to each one of them for 2 years. Right? You're talking about $12 million for 2 years. That's $24 million 4 families can get just from $1 a gallon from what the utility company is burning. So nobody can tell me that we are distributing our wealth properly and our resources properly. We're not. We're not doing it, Sterling. We're not. The problem is that the people who have control of purchasing the fuel and benefiting from thereof are the ones who keep it in that circle. Then they spend the necessary lobbyist dollars for it to remain that way for as long as they can get away with it. So when we talk about distribution of wealth and prioritizing our resources, which is nothing other than services and fees, and making sure that we reinvest in our people, where is the proof in the pudding? Yeah,
as you said, I'm thinking back. I'm sure I think there is a video documentary on one of those streaming services online, but there's a book written by the former Secretary of Labor under U.S. President Clinton in his first term, Robert. I say Reich, but I think he's Reich as opposed to the Third Reich. He may be still a professor over at UC Berkeley. And he wrote it called Saving Capitalism. And the name itself sort of, this guy's writing about that. But as you read it, or watch the video version of it, he underscores how the lobbyists, amongst other things, influence so much and the money that they spend. And take, for instance, legislation that they want, despite the public's sort of discuss for it, it gets passed. If they don't want the legislation and the public wants it, then it gets passed. And this small number, that graphic he illustrated using the spend is important. So to your point, if we were to do that, now there are many of us, and may not be the time to talk about it. Talk about redistribution of wealth, and there's many connotations. But from what you're saying, you're not talking about taking from rob Peter to pay Paul, and you're not talking about giving people something that they're not deserving. This is, a help up as opposed to a handout. Now, it may not be 12 million. It may be, 100,000. It's just a math, what you need, right?
Well, the thing is this. If you took the $45 million.
Right.
You can give 45 families $1 million each.
Yeah.
And you...
90 families, $500,000.
For the year, right?
Yeah.
You can give them $1 million a year, right? 45 families, $1 million a year. And in 10 years, if you did a different family every 10 years, that's 450 families in 10 years. And 10 years not a long time.
Right. I mean, you could even put that into a fund that you could borrow against for education.
No.
For
You don't want.
No, I'm saying that there are different ways you could do it that is not. I see your point.
Well, here's what you can do with it.
Yeah.
You can find 4 to 5 of the most dire need struggling families, and you can take that $1 million and pay their mortgage off.
Yeah, there are things we can do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right, is that all governments have already spent the country into 15 and 20 years worth of debt, right?
Yeah.
That they can't afford to allocate any of that money to put it directly where it should be going. So again, that's 75 cents that they charge per gallon and do this.
Yeah.
And that 25 cents they charge for. Now, this is where I get completely confused and I it's just dumbfounded, right? Is that we have a responsibility as a consumer to purchase fuel for a company, right, that generates energy with the fuel that we pay for. Then they turn around and they charge us per kilowatt hour for usage of the energy.
Yeah.
They charge us a facility charge for maintaining the grid that they distributed on. Okay. Then they turn around and charge us a renewable energy charge for anybody who's come off the grid and no longer responsible for contributing to the fuel. Then, on top of all of that, if there's any other upgrades or any other repairs that need to be done, we pay for it.
Yeah. Good formula.
So, we don't own the grid, which we should. We paid for it after Hurricane Ivan 100 million times over. The 5 megawatt solar plant in Barton Town in the Quarry area, that I am assuming, or I'm figuring that that's the renewable energy charge, paying for that. How long are we going to pay for it? And when we pay for it, who going to own it?
Can you finish your thought? I want to ask you about that because let me ask. I've heard people say this, and it seems that it's understood by some.
We're the only country in the world that buys something every month and never take receivership of it.
Okay. This renewable energy charges on an electric bill. I've heard people say, and I just want to clarify, if you know it and if you don't know it definitively and have a perspective of others, that is because those of us that are on solar, are being now subsidized by those of us aren't. So that lost sort of revenue, how does that work?
Well, and I got to speak purely in theory.
Yeah. Okay.
And hypothetical.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So nobody here can be held liable.
No.
Okay. But let's look. Let's look at.
You have a fine club, man.
Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the facts that brought me to my opinion.
Okay.
In the contract, they have an exclusive right for distribution of energy. They also have a caveat in there that says we, the consumer, have to pay 100% of the fuel. All right. Okay. They'll have no responsibility for paying for fuel. So all of a sudden now, you got, hypothetically, 20,000 people on the grid. Okay? And because some people that's on that grid have the financial capability to put an alternative energy source on their house to come off the grid, right? Which is then now pumped, which is now given credits to them, and they now get credits for it. So they have no responsibility for purchasing the fuel in which the utility company still has to provide for core energy because that's their contractual obligation. They have to provide core energy. Okay. So the reduction of diesel that burns the core, that generates the plants that provide the core energy doesn't change. So if you got 20,000 people on the grid and 500 people come off the grid, you're still burning the same amount of fuel to run it for the remainder 19,500 people. Right. So now those 500 people who used to have a item on their bill says energy surcharge, fuel factor, no longer has that. So they got to redistribute that 500 people's responsibility that they would have had if they were on the grid to the 19,500, which then has a slight increase. Now, how do you mitigate that? Very easy. You put a renewable energy surcharge on there. I'm assuming that's the house that they use to justify this cost. But my question with that is that raises more questions than answers it solves. Because we know now that people and businesses and companies and a lot of businesses are putting solar. Even government right here in the parking lot putting solar up. Okay, so a lot of commercial properties put up solar. A lot of residents putting up solar, and all of these things collectively has a huge impact. Okay, then the 5 megawatt plant system solar farm that they bought in Bordentown, and they made an announcement that they're trying to put another 11 megawatts on. Okay, so the renewable energy is the gap that has been created for those entities and those businesses and those people. So again, because in their contracted agreement, they have the legal right to redistribute that cost to its customers because that's in the contract. It's 100% pass-through cost to the consumer of the fuel. Okay. Now, it didn't speak in a language about, well, what happened if half of the people come off the grid and you still have to maintain core? Okay. How do you redistribute that responsibility?
It's farm power.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And that I think is where the problem comes in.
Let's just pause quickly. When we come back, more talk today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Bordentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And the phone lines are open. And thanks to Mario D. Rankin for sharing with us. And if you don't mind, I've been encouraged and inspired by some of the things that you write and, you share with us. And visually, whatever that is, I think it's good. For some of us, we like to hear something. That's how I like to see it in print.
Yeah.
And you share things sometime, and I think, wow, man, that's deep. So I want to encourage you, keep it up, and maybe encourage more of us to do the likewise,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I when I sit idle for more than a minute or two, I start, and then when I think of something, I go in my notepad. I can show you right here.
Yeah.
See all my notes. You want to see notes?
Yeah, man.
Look, But the thing is that
hope you got a backed up and save somewhere. Don't do what I did.
And true, and I probably need to do that. But I think that it's important that we speak our mind.
Yeah. Can I and I leave it to you to jump in. And the Honorable Deputy Premier, he may not have used this term, but as a social entrepreneur, so to speak, I've listened to him increasingly make public commentary, and my words, right? I'm sure these are his, social capital, the idea of social investment. I hopefully the Honorable Minister Eubanks in his Ministry of Innovation and Investment in People sort of speaks to the need. The Honorable Deputy Premier on Friday said something that I'm glad he said publicly, because I say it all the time, and because of a comment that someone in position shared, I thought, wow, people think this is political. I wish I away from it. In fact, I'll say it even more. The pillars in our society specifically, but probably in any, not financial services, not tourism, not mining and manufacturing, not oil, not diamonds. It doesn't matter what it is. If your people are not healthy, you have a very robust healthcare sector, health insurance, health services, and an education sector. Those are your pillars, too strong. If you don't have those, you can have all of this stuff, and there's no value. And the Deputy Premier shared it. So in light of that,
what did he share?
He shared that your pillars. Repeating what I said is education system. No, thank you. Education system and healthcare system. Right. So in light of that, we look at what was at once and may still be termed natural monopolies. Things like maybe sewage systems, water distribution systems, things like energy generation and distribution. The
building blocks.
Yeah, right. The UK and probably in the 70s and maybe even now, the Labour government, as I understood their politics, would nationalise a lot. And the joke I remember hearing once, as a student, Conservatives are in and they're selling everything off, and the Labour, don't worry, it's more than nationalised when we get back in. Or if the Labour is in and it's nationalised, the Conservatives say, more to sell off when we get back in. But in that context, should we in this country look at nationalising CUC, nationalising and as a country through a sovereign fund or through some national development program that we all contribute to, infrastructure fund, whatever we call it.
Pension?
Yeah. Should we not consider buying it and owning it?
Well, 100% yes. And I think that's where we have failed our society and our people. When you talk about pillars of our society and investment in our people and all these things, we have a national collection system called a pension. Okay, that's what it is.
Okay,
all right. We got almost $3 billion, if not that, now in that fund. And one of the specific reasons for it is that it could be put into investment vehicles in order to enhance its value. So therefore, when a person needs access to their funds at an age where they may not be physically able to do for themselves, they have something to fall back on. I think that was the gist of why we implemented pension, or anybody would implement pension, right? So you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what is the performance of this particular initiative called the pension in terms of have we done forensic analysis and auditing to see whether or not that these investment vehicles are actually turning over the volume of revenue that would be needed for a person that's going to need to use or have access to these funds? I don't know. Maybe that is the case. What I do know is that I know a lot of people who's on pension now that the pension ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
That it ain't enough.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to get subsidized. They still end up at NAU. So at the end of the day, as you just mentioned, when you want to do we want to nationalize certain things? Listen, when Fortis were buying CUC, we had enough money in the pensions to buy it. If there was ever a good investment vehicle, it would have been the only electricity company in the Cayman Islands. So that's what you call reinvesting in your people, reinvesting in yourself.
Residual income,
right?
Yeah.
And you had other things that went up for sale. CNB Bank is called Cayman National, for goodness sakes.
Is it still?
Right? Kidding. Well, I'm just saying.
No, I just teasing.
And we let another island buy it. right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what it is that we're really trying to accomplish. Because, as I said earlier, the reason why so many things remain the way they are is because they are being lobbied to stay the way they are. And I hate using the term lobbied, but I could say they're being paid to keep the way they are. You want me to say? I could say that too, right? But that's not the politically correct term.
Okay.
Without people feeling like, oh, well, you're saying something derogatory or something malicious. It's nothing to do with any of that. The fact of the matter is that when you have a failing system, it may be failing for some and benefiting others.
Well, isn't it to say that, those who want to preserve the status quo is because it's benefiting them, those who want to change it is because they're not benefiting from it? With that in mind, then, is it that we need to change our mindset to get us to appreciate that if we all share into something, we have ownership in it, so we take stock in it, literally. We all benefit from it, then we have a sense. But is it then that for some of us, we rather have all the pie and the crumbs and let it spoil, just ensure that nobody else gets any? Or if we were to, invite others to it, we can expand the pie, and our share actually increases even though more people are sharing in the pie because there's more pie. Is that what we need to get to appreciate that we can all be in this?
Well, let's talk about the pie system for a second, right?
Okay.
And let's look at another burden that we've allowed to self-regulate itself, which is the insurance industry. Okay. Now, we have a current situation where anybody who provides the necessary documentation and go through the necessary hoops that they need to jump through in order to get an insurance company, they can open one. There's no cap. So half the reason why our insurance prices are so high is because we got all these insurance companies. But if we had looked at that industry properly and structured it where we ensured that there were only limited amount of insurance companies, so that the pie wasn't shared up too much, so therefore the increase of the price wouldn't have been relegated simply because, okay, you got 200 insurance companies and everybody trying to sell insurance to the same 20,000 people, right? And it's who sell. And you got to sell the insurance for so much in order for it to be financially feasible. That's why you get these high rates. So there are different ways you can structure things in order to be mindful, and then you got to have regulations in place. And people don't really look at it like that. And I can tell you that there are a few fundamental changes that could be made immediately. Government don't need to go get no approval from nobody. They just need to sit down in there. Understand that that's the problem and implement the solutions. But again, it goes all the way back to who are benefiting from the very things that is creating a social breakdown and a financial burden to the masses.
So then do we need to now redefine or at least understand what are public goods? They're going to be costs, social costs and financial costs to things, but are we looking at the economic costs? And whether it's education and healthcare for everybody at a subsidized rate so that people are healthy, mentally, physically, and the like. Is it an element of housing, shelter, the basic fundamentals of life, the security, food, shelter, and the like. I would include education and healthcare in there, right?
That's four essentials, yeah.
Are we not understanding them? Are we so blind to the point where those who got want to keep and want to do everything, keep others who haven't, without understanding that that could create a very, very serious pressure.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I seen just recently where there was a publication by the Premier's office or the government's office that said that there are 650 families going to bed hungry every night, right? Well, let me tell you something. I don't know who did those numbers, but they're so far off mark. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we know that we have this problem and we're doing absolutely nothing to address it.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because during the discussion on Friday with the Honorable Deputy Premier about the census, and that was a number that was thrown out at the press briefing, and like you, it resonated. 600 plus there was another 700 plus that didn't give a response, right? Now we know that people's pride, people's reticence for different reasons, it would be unfortunate if it was one person, right? Not much families. Now, if we're looking at numbers of people that are going, that are not being served, I don't want us to look at the demographic and say it's in that area. Look at it in the fact that what is the cost and consequence. There are some of us who consciously, because we're disciplined.
And why I mentioned that number and why that number is flawed. Let me tell you why that number is flawed. Let me tell you why. Because it says 650 people in the Cayman Islands go to bed every night hungry, on average. I think that's what it said. I'm stand corrected.
600 plus. I don't remember the exact number.
But what that particular statement does not cover is the individuals who starved all day. Yeah. And then got something to eat at the end of the night. Yeah. So they didn't go sleep hungry.
But they didn't have their... Yeah.
But they starved the entire day.
Yeah.
So then those people are not in that number.
What's that doing for the health? We got a break, sir? All right. And this is where that social sort of discussion and implications and why data like the census is helpful. Now, what do we do with it as a society? All right. I really appreciate you here. Anybody else who wants to join into the conversation is 949-8037. 1-800-534-8255. If you bring dark chocolate and sprinkle with sea salt, you're going to get a prize. Hey, stay tuned for Talk Today.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Back to school. Education is knowing the best back-to-school specials are at Reflections. Step into savings with up to 50% off selected footwear brands. Buy 1 pair and get the 2nd pair of back-to-school shoes at 25% off. Save 50% off on all U.S. Polo handbags and backpacks. Ladies, don't miss the amazing daily deals in the clearance section on special selected women's fashions. Keep it classic with Levi jeans in a wide variety of styles and sizes from 28 to 48. And for the freshest gear, check out the new stock of Nike, Puma, Adidas, Johnny Cotton, and more. The best back-to-school savings are at Reflections. Find them on Shedden Road beside the mango tree. Open daily from 9 a.m. till after dark.
We'll be the coolest kids in school.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. That's 949-7104.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise Cayman Brac residents that due to elevated seasonal temperatures, garbage collection services will now start at 4 a.m. during July and August. To avoid missed collections, please place your garbage in the enclosure a night before your scheduled pickup. For more information, contact the DEH office in Cayman Brac at 948-2321.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you want to be a part of the discussion, challenge, agree. The idea of dialogue is to be able to say, well, this is what you said, this is what I think. And sometimes we agree with it. Sometimes we say, well, that part, but not this part. So Mario D. Rankin, I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that if we want to show a semblance of maturity, a semblance of an evolved species, that we can have that kind of conversation and challenge each other. Now, I know that's probably at this stage a bit naive, because some of us are so self-centered, self-serving, and selfish that we can't see anything about when it comes to service and sacrifice. But true success, I think, rests in people working for the greater good, and not everybody being late to startle, but being willing to go hand in hand, and put the hearts to help. So we'll get there. I'm optimistic. I'm positive, not just pensive, but hopefully productive. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many things that has happened in the last 5 years in Cayman. It's something that has been prolonging for way longer than that. But we've seen where COVID came in and kind of threw a curveball to everybody. When the last time you heard the word COVID until just now? You see, it just goes to show you how easy we are to be gated.
Yeah.
Right? And funneled into a certain sort of environment that someone else created, and now we got to participate. It's just amazing how a year and a half ago that we were in a tailspin. Nothing has changed with COVID. Nothing at all has changed. The effects that they say it used to have, none of those things have changed. All changes that now we're used to it now.
But what's interesting though, and I'll be guided by you, right? But
again, we create all these social programs, calling it fixing the problem, when all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. And
well, are we finding problems for solutions?
Well, look at Travel Cayman, for instance.
That still exists?
Yeah, that still exists.
Why?
Because it need to employ the people who are there.
Okay.
So they created that as a political mileage system, which now they can't. If they strip it away, you'll be seen as a person making a person lose their job.
Huh. But I'm sure those people were elsewhere, so can we not return them to where they were?
Political cowardness.
Okay.
All I gotta tell you.
Well, I must share, I'm not, after the program, I'm going to reach out to ask more about it. I'm not saying this only because I'm not honestly, I'm not really up to speed with it, right?
You don't need a test to come Cayman.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need no vaccine to go to the U.S.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't.
Okay.
The thing is that Travel Cayman right now is 100% completely useless. It serves no purpose.
Okay.
I don't know why the Minister of Health or the Premier insist on keeping it, because it serves no purpose other than employment.
I'll be honest with you, I was sort of thinking that would have faded away. And this is, I say this carefully. I like to always speak from a position of being informed, right?
Wow.
I am cognizant that when it comes to freedoms and liberties, that I take personal the sacrifices of my own family, like many who, because of their governments, sent them or they volunteered, and they went what is the front lines and were shot and killed on the battlefield, all right? And even to this day, we have family and friends, Caymanian, bred and born in the soil, who serve in the armed forces across the globe. Some of us understand that firsthand, some of us don't. That's the reality, right? And that's why, for me, I'm very, very, very passionate about how we deploy people and how we employ people and how we abuse and use people, because we think lives are just, to be sort of disposed at our women fans, right? The Third World song that they took from Jackson Brown is quite evident in that, if you behind the scenes and you don't feel the pinch, you don't have to worry about who has the punch, right? The end of the day, I still have to share that if we are at this stage now in our history, and we have things in a democracy that inhibit freedoms, right? And you need to, raise your hand to go to the bathroom because you're an adult. Something significant, fundamentally wrong when we're telling a child, well, you're a child, you don't need to be subjected to your parents' control. Kind of strange, right? So,
well, I mean, yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point. And the thing is that I could travel, go to the U.S., right?
Okay.
And when I'm coming back home, I need to be registered. With Travel Cayman before I can come into my own country.
Seriously?
I can't even be checked in at the counter.
Wow.
Without showing them a document that says I'm registered at Travel Cayman. Have you ever heard anything so stupid in your entire life?
So why do we accept that? Where
Hold on a second. My passport?
Yeah.
I might as well throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have Travel Cayman approval, Mario can't board the flight.
So where are the lawyers in society to look at those sorts of things? I mean, that might be legitimate, but where are the lawyers?
My question is, what are you accomplishing by requiring me with a certified passport that tells you who I am and where I'm from and where I belong?
And where you go, Michael.
And where I belong. What are we accomplishing by having to get people to register at Travel Cayman? Because you no longer need a test to come here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're obviously not worried about COVID because you don't need a test. That's out the window.
Okay.
All right. So again, what is it are we accomplishing by instituting this particular program and keeping it in place even now? Even when they first did it, it was stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And even worse now that everything else is going to accept that.
So then is this then, just generally speaking, two things. One, and I look at this and some of the global leaders, so to speak, they get drunken with power. People seem to like that, right? So today it's this, tomorrow there might be some other thing that they throw on us that, and I'm worried that people take it, right? Not that I don't want people to be very sensible and safe. We all do, right? I wore my seatbelt long before there was a seatbelt law, because what I was introduced to told me that in the absence of these circumstances, the probability of my safety is enhanced if I'm wearing a seatbelt, right? I should have to ask then, one, where are we thinking? And why are we so blind and foolish to accepting nonsense? And then two, where's the courage to speak out? If your brother is being mistreated, do you not draw alongside and say, hey, this isn't going to happen, right? So what's wrong with us? I mean, are we...
I just trying to figure out. I just trying to figure out the rationale behind stripping away the requirement to have a test to prove that you're not got COVID, as opposed to doing away with something that simply doesn't serve a purpose. Like you got to register at Travel Cayman, Mario, if you want to come back home. Okay, so my passport that I got right here is worthless. Worthless.
Maybe
what does Travel Cayman? What being registered on that site does? What benefit do we get from having that as an institution that we have to register to come back home? What benefit are we getting?
Here is something that I'm just asking this, right? And if you are sufficiently knowledgeable or have the legal inclination, because that's probably who we'll defer to, under what law, not a regulation, not some policy, under what law gives this entity that sort of authority?
You remember when Panan and them passed that COVID-19 law that had all sorts of foolishness in it? I would beg to wonder that is covered in there.
Okay, and because you said your passport, I'm starting to think Constitution and different things, and but are we? Because we are very civil, compliant, law-abiding people, and we accept things blindly because we trust. If we trust the thing, right? But at some point, we need to start thinking and asking. So your questions are valid.
They're very valid, and I'll give you a joke. I was in today is Monday, Saturday. I was in the supermarket, and a friend of mine walking across me, and we stopped and had a conversation. He said, "Yeah, I need to go home, take this medicine for my sister because she caught this bad flu." And I bust out laughing, and he bust out laughing because a year ago you don't dare, you don't dare call that a flu.
Yeah.
That was COVID.
Well,
and she would have been isolated for 21 days until
in prison
until she didn't have no fragments of that left.
Yeah.
So when you talk about laws and infringement on your rights and all these different sorts of things, let me tell you something. I started traveling back to the U.S. in March this year, and listen to me good.
Mm-hmm.
The United States of America don't care about no COVID. When I say that, I mean you don't need to be vaccinated to go there. They don't ask you for that. It's only us here. We're the only person in the entire world that going up, well, with the exception of Canada, because they not got no sense over there either.
Yeah, I felt they got a boy.
Yeah, the immigration is retarded too.
Yeah.
I take that word back because that might offend somebody, and I might have used it out of context. My apologies.
Yeah. Well, the guy they got.
You got to be careful what you say these days.
Yeah, man. All right, we're going to pause, Mr. Okay, let's pause. Let's invite the callers. I'm interested to hear from somebody because when I don't know something, I want to know and learn, right? So share with us if you can. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Breitling watches are defined by quality, innovation, and style. And you have the chance to win one in August during Kirk Freeport's 50th anniversary sweepstakes. Each month, lucky shoppers have the chance to win a piece of jewelry or a watch from luxury brands. Every purchase of $100 at any Kirk Freeport store gains you entry into the monthly drawing. So stop in today. Next up, September's prize is the Chopard Happy Dreams bracelet. View terms and conditions on KirkFreeport.com.
Radio Cayman, your #1 community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If officials' sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home or place of business. Remember to use good lumber, as makeshift boarding may actually cause more damage. Also put strong bracing on outside doors so that they are not blown off or blown in.
This hurricane advice was brought to you by Radio Cayman, your caring community radio station.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. The phone lines are open, and on the other side of the spectrum, who's on the line, my friend? Anybody? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. On this side of the table, sitting next to me, Mario D. Rankin. Hey, thanks very much for sharing with us. Want to maybe ask a couple of things that were sent to us on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Those who want to share, 925-3261. But before I do, I say this for my benefit, and if it's offensive or offending people, let me know, because it's not intent. I genuinely didn't realize Travel Cayman was still in existence based on what has transpired, like you said.
Yeah.
What is the continued need for it in that sense, right? Right or wrong, you hear people who say they've come to Cayman and they've gone through this protocol, which seems to offend what published protocols are.
Right.
But and I'll get there. So on another note, this person, if I should probably get my glasses on now. All right. This person writes to ask if we know when CUC's contract is up for renewal. Offhand, I don't. Okay, so for travel, yeah, okay. So it's there, right? And so let's ask that first question. Do you know that? I don't know. And it was a 20-year contract signed way back
25.
25? Okay.
That was during Arden administration when he was minister. How long he's not been the minister of that portfolio. So
yeah,
I figure 10 plus years, maybe gone out of it now.
Okay. It's not hard to find out, but I mean, I don't know.
You can go on their website, I believe, and find it.
And they're very, with that, they put a lot of stuff out there in the public domain like that.
They will just start doing that.
Okay.
They're feeling pressure now.
And this question is, says, did your guest just say that you don't need to be vaccinated to travel to the USA? When did that rule change for visitors?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
The problem is that we implementing something that the US no longer require. You understand? We're the only ones that enforcing that. So in Cayman, it hasn't changed. We enforce it here.
Okay.
Right? But the reality is that I've not been there yet, and I challenge anyone who's traveled to the U.S. in the last 6 months to tell me that they were required to show that they were vaccinated when they got to the U.S. Okay. The immigration officer almost run me out of the building when I first went. Obviously, I want to make sure and follow the protocol, make sure everything is good, show them my letter and all my stuff. I said, do I need to show you a letter, my doctor's letter, or if I'm vaccinated? He said, no, you don't. How long are you staying for? He said, we don't require that.
Yeah, well, I haven't traveled, and I confess I haven't asked people about their things, right? Just, So.
Only place you got to show that is at the airport here.
Well, I understand that in the UK, that's the same thing. You can go in there now and there's no issue. That's been for a while.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I'm telling you. And the thing is, the thing is this, right?
Yeah.
What really cracks me up is that I have more trouble getting back home than I did going to the US.
But see, that's
Travel Cayman. That's the way Travel Cayman comes in.
That's something that is concerning on the face of it. This is why I'm saying, where are the lawyers, right? Because we accuse them of creating a lot of problems for us, but then they're the ones that help to advocate for the freedoms. And if your country,
the Attorney General and the Premier, both lawyers,
yeah,
who have drafted this ridiculous COVID-19 law. So nobody, I don't need to ask where no lawyers is.
Okay.
We got the two worst ones sitting there in leadership, and we got one advising the next. That the part that bothers me.
But then,
nobody don't want to call a spade, right? Everybody want to beat around the bush. And listen, I don't care. I don't have no time.
Wait, so you don't skin up?
I know. I don't use that term either.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm just simply saying I do not care. I don't have no time to powder coat anything because of your position. I don't.
Okay. We got a call.
All right.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you today?
Okay. Well, concerning the contract signed with CUC, well, a gentleman that was employed with them just before running for election was the one that signed the new deal.
But on behalf of the government, right?
Yes, on behalf of the government, not the people of the Cayman Islands.
But wouldn't the government be signing as the government and by extension the people of the country?
Yeah, but they never did that on our behalf, not according to what I see.
Okay. Okay.
There's no way they did that on our behalf. And like what McKeever Bush said, sweetheart deal that they signed with them. And for them to allow the gentleman that was in charge at the time being an employee with them just before running for election, just that alone is not right.
But at that point that he signed, and was he not elected for a number of years then, and so had severed his employment relations with the company?
Say that again?
When he was elected, right, and at that point of signing it, had he not been elected for a number of years, and so his employment had been resigned his employment for a number of years prior to that?
Oh, you mean with the UC?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that don't mean nothing to me. You got something you call shares. You got something called shares. You don't need to be employed to have a lot of shares. Once you have a lot of shares, you don't need to worry about working with CUC. So that's the problem.
Okay.
And that's why the government
Okay.
are not doing what they have the power to do, and that is to help poor people save money. That they can at least go once a year on vacation with their children.
Okay.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're most welcome. Thank you. And let's take one call, Mr. Michael, for the news.
Sure.
Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good day, Stolen. Maybe you or your guest can answer this one for me. I'll be brief.
Okay.
What about travel Cayman? They lift so much a thing, they cannot lift that one. I met one older person in the grocery store. She said to me, they think we tech savvy like them. If we go to the travel agent to do it, they're charging with the elderly people a lot to do it. So how come they say they were looking out for elderly? Cayman Airways don't no longer give the elderly no discount of the tickets. So that way your guest was saying that just now was right. U.S. now harassing people about coming in there and this thing foolishness. Now, this thing with travel came and they lift so much ban. What happened to that one now?
Well, maybe after, today...
You think everybody, and some of the older people, they don't know how to start a computer or something, everything about .com, this thing, next thing. They got to give and take.
Yeah. Well, as I listen, what I'm hearing is that we also need to consider whether or not it's now any more necessary,
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. I talk to everybody saying that, but I feel sorry for the lady. She's an elderly lady, and she said she like to take a little trip. Cayman Airways have special now, and she not going because of this thing, next thing, and other things. They're only looking about the tourists. They don't care about the people right here, the people in the island who supports them. Tell me.
I'm listening to you.
I'll wait for you or your guest to answer that, and when they lift out so much of the ban, travel came on and this thing, because I had a friend recently went away to Trinidad. She didn't have a problem. Only here she had the problem. A week ago.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're hearing. People are going everywhere, but returning home is like
Yeah.
Someone
like
say it's almost a common destination.
Like you did a crime.
No, they need they need to remove Travel Cayman immediately.
Amen. I agree with you.
There's no need for it. There was never any need for it, and there's definitely no need for it now. It's absolutely ridiculous that they have that in place.
Yeah, and you could see with me where I am coming from.
100%.
Definitely.
This is disgusting, man. You go out there, you exercise your democratic rights. When the time comes for you to say, you can't say anything and nobody listens to you. Let's see what they're doing with CUC now, so they will give the people a break on the bills. I don't know about the water one, so we wait and see how that works. The people is listening, People every day is listening what is happening. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. So I don't know what they're going to do. Travel came on, Mr. Minister for Tourism. He better do something.
It's not his fault. Yeah. It's the Minister of Health and the Premier of this country. Wayne Pannon and Sabrina is responsible for keeping it in place. Those are the people that need to be approached and talked to, because they're the ones that are keeping it. And the Premier should be ashamed of himself, because he know the complications that people are having with it, and all you got to do is just make a phone call and close it down.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for that. And let's go to our news. Hey, the phone lines are open. Give us a shout and share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. On Saturday, August 6th, RCIPS officers stopped a vehicle while conducting a proactive operation in West Bay. As the vehicle stopped, officers observed one of the occupants throw a package from the vehicle, which was found to contain suspected ganja. All 4 occupants were arrested on suspicion of possession of ganja. Officers established that 3 of the occupants are Jamaican nationals on island illegally. In international news, Russia's military could be unable to operate the high-tech weapons and communications systems it has been using in Ukraine if the West were to tighten export controls, says a report. Almost all Moscow's modern military systems depend on Western-made microelectronics, says the Royal United Services Institute report. Moscow has found ways to bypass sanctions and export controls. If the loopholes are closed, Russia's military might be permanently degraded. Australian airline Qantas has asked senior executives to work as baggage handlers for 3 months as it tries to tackle an acute labor shortage. The firm's head of operations is looking for at least 100 volunteers to work at Sydney and Melbourne airports. Tasks include loading and unloading bags as well as driving vehicles to move luggage around airports. Like much of the global airline industry, Qantas is struggling to resume its services as borders reopen. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We wanna go and dally.
Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Backyard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Backyard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday brunch.
Backyard.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven-roasted chicken, Black Forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway, eat fresh.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vant Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Whether it's routine care or highly complex surgery, when it comes to your health,
you want the best. Health City has Cayman's most comprehensive range of in-house medical services. Recognized for quality and excellence, Health City brings together expert doctors, the best technology, and the latest techniques to understand your health and ensure you get the care you need. From Camana Bay to East End, you can trust the team at Health City. Health City, world-class healthcare within your reach.
The Department of Agriculture would like to advise the community that their warehouse, sales office, and plant nursery on Agricola Drive in Lower Valley will now be open 6 days per week, Monday to Friday, 8:15 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For more information, call 947-3090 or visit their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And in the studio, I'm Mario D. Rankin, and I'm hoping a couple of things will come over our discussions. One, it'll encourage other people to say, you know what, I don't agree with you. Here's what I think. Or they might say, you know what, I agree with you. Time to speak in concert, have a unified voice because it's for a good thing, right? But above all that, we respect and value our democracy and to be able to say things hopefully respectfully, hopefully responsibly, but in the public domain and continue to do it tomorrow and the next day and for centuries. Can I share with you one of our listeners, and I do have my glasses close by, but I pretend I can still see it. Says, together with 6 other family members, we just returned from Tampa. We didn't have to do that. That must be referring to travel Cayman. We went through Cayman immigration line, waited for our luggage, and after that, just walked through. Now, you were sharing that the need now for travel Cayman, like the caller before and others who have shared on a few other messaging, that it's time to get rid of that now. A citizen returning home, especially in this environment, shouldn't be subjected to.
And I can tell you, I just came back last Tuesday, and I can tell you.
Well, this person says last Saturday or Saturday.
I had to provide it.
Okay.
So it's a fact.
Okay.
That you need to provide it. And I can show you the expiration date on my new one that it has got, because my old one expired in July. I had to renew it in July before I can come back home.
It's like 4 months, I think.
4 months. Okay. And it's good down to October. So
how do you renew it? What do you do?
You just go online. You have to go online, resubmit the stuff, and upload the stuff, and then, like that lady just rightfully said, how people who don't have the ability to do that are going to do it.
That is one challenge with disenfranchising, but also if you are, and help me to understand, right? You're traveling from country A to country B, and you need visa or some sort of entry requirement for immigration control. We get that. Some countries say, well, if you're a citizen of this country, you can come into our place because we're all in this little pack together. Fair enough. But you're coming home to your country as a citizen, and they can tell you, no, you can't come. Basically, is what I'm hearing.
Well, what I'm saying, if you're not registered, they're not checking you in.
So then what happens then if you live in one district, say Georgetown, you travel East End, and they say, border control, but you can't come in here. Or you live in the Grand Cayman, but you can't go to the BRAC.
Well,
I mean, you're still traveling within the country.
They have some parts of Africa where you go to England to an embassy to get a visa to go to another part of Africa.
But 2 different countries.
No.
Same country.
Africa.
Yeah, but after the continent. But I mean,
the continent. Yeah. A different part of Africa.
Yeah.
But even so, you gotta leave that mainland to go to another.
Yeah.
Disconnected. Anyway, it is what it is. But
but I mean, so maybe see like a lot. There are many of us who don't have the courage, right? We're paralyzed by fear, and we stop thinking for ourselves.
Well,
right?
my question is this, plain and simple. Mr. Premier, Minister of Health, could you please highlight the benefits from having Travel Cayman in place at this particular point? What are the benefits? Because if there are no benefits, you need to remove it, because there's a lot of hindrances that it's causing. Okay? The problem is that, again, I hear a lot of people with it. I won't repeat it as if it's law, but I know a fact that a lot of people who working in that department, running that, used to work in other departments of government, I guess like Cayman Airways and different places. I don't know, don't hold me to that, but this is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Anyway, the thing is, if we're keeping it open just to provide jobs, that means our government doing a pretty bad job. Okay? Because that shouldn't be the reason why we're keeping it open.
But again, if and I don't want to belabor it, but if they were working in this area and we did it because it was a smart thing to do at the time, and now we don't need it, can we not shift them back to other places or where they were?
All I know is this: is that I remember speaking with multiple ministers, including Mr. Chris Saunders, and all I can hear coming out of their mouth were pure ignorance. Oh well, nobody not gonna die on my watch, but yet we got the highest death toll in Cayman history in the last 2 years.
A lot of sadly, and our condolences and prayers. A lot of people have passed on it.
A lot of people, and continue to do so.
Yeah, that's it hurts. I mean, because you don't know, how much of anxiety and stress, how many people have imposed, whatever the reason is, right?
I won't travel down that road.
No. I'm saying, but a lot of people have passed on in the last couple of years.
They have. I'm not a doctor, and and I can't sit here and pretend to be a doctor and say that I definitively know why they die. Because I don't know, and I don't want to disrespect anybody who passed on or none of their families.
No, man.
Deepest condolences to Mr. Harley and his family, because I know them all my life.
Yeah, man. Went to school with the man.
So, but again, sir, I just wish that we can encourage more people to get involved with conversation. Yeah. Have the necessary dialogue, because it creates awareness, educate people a little bit, and and again, we can get either the right or wrong information. We can speak whatever it is. It gives people an opportunity to participate.
Yeah, and that's it. Participate.
Yeah.
Speaking out, a couple of the sentiments here. I recognize there's something that we say can be insightful. It gets you to think, and some of it is insightful where it gets you riled up, right? One of these comments falls in that latter category, right? But the premise of it is that, can I use one of the words that the person used?
Of course.
Say we're just too ignorant.
We're good with our bad.
Yeah, and we just accept anything without any thoughts, right? And I'm wondering to what extent that we're looking at it, and understanding how increasingly that it's important that we be respectful, we be resourceful, we be responsive, but we also be very proactive. And when we can look back on something and say, you know what, that was a good thing, we keep it up. If we look back on it and say, hindsight is 2020. Let's make some adjustments. Is it our ego? Is it that we're trying to save face and what have you, and we just want to keep beating that horse because we don't have the courage, we don't have the humility to say, you know what, it's not a good thing, let's make some adjustments. What is it?
Solutions are like education, useless unless applied. And I believe that in many cases, people would rather have a long conversation about a solution that could remedy a problem as opposed to implementing the solution, because the implementation of it takes on a whole new course of action and hurdles to jump, and some people just don't have the stamina. And then it's not because they don't have the foresights, because some of these guys are smart, they're just cowards.
So the race not for the feet of hard or the swift, right?
Well,
okay.
It's all relative to how you look at it. but no, we all know that when you speak to certain people, you can tell their intelligence level, and you understand that they know what's really going on. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why are you not doing anything? You know exactly what the problem is. You've just shared 15 solutions, but you've done absolutely nothing.
But then, okay, so with that in mind, right? Let's ask then. Let's say you're the leader or the decision maker or the person that is the gatekeeper, but you know the thing you're doing doesn't make sense. But is it that you continue A, to save face, or B, you either know or perceive that the people otherwise would have a different view. So as a leader, you lack the courage to say that this is what needs to be done.
Well, when a person that assumes the leadership role, right, and I hate when I heard Mr. Panton say, oh, well, he was nominated to be the premier, so therefore he went with whatever. Okay, fine, if that's the process, that's what took place. Okay, kudos to you. But you need to remove yourself from that process now. And you need to assume the leadership role. And you need to make sure that every decision you make is the best of your ability. And stop the second guessing and stop the wonder if and stop the, oh, well, we're going to listen, I don't want nobody to pay no light bill for me. And when I say that, I mean for none of our poor people that are struggling. I don't want you to come pay nobody light bill. I need you to fix the system so that they can pay their light bill themselves. Yes, it's not an overnight fix for it. And yes, we need to do some assistance during the time of trying to get the process fixed. But if the premier or anybody in that position, not just him, but if whoever in that position, if you had said, okay, this increase in fuel is going to have an impact on our utility, which will have an impact on people's ability to pay their light bill. It's something that happened sudden, overnight, unexpected. We weren't prepared for it, so we're going to subsidize. However, while we have initiated a plan to subsidize for temporary relief, we also have a long-term plan to remedy this problem, so that then if this ever happens again, we'll be ready to roll. I didn't hear that part.
Okay.
So that's why I say when you remove yourself from the process that put you where you are, you need to assume the position in which you've been nominated and elected to be, and set aside the political emotions and dislikes and wants and separation that you may have with people who can actually bring something to the table and make you better at what you do. When Henry Ford was criticized by the New York Times about being arrogant and ignorant and disrespectful and all these different things, he took him to court and sued him. And he explained to them, he said, look, I build engines. I don't fix lights and windows and paint cars and fix tires. If I need to know something about a tire on my car, I pick up the phone, hit a button, and the tire guy come up and tell me about it. So whereas the car collectively work together in its each components individually, they also have someone running each department so that everything runs flawlessly. So the premier and persons that are in leadership roles need to surround themselves with people to help them accomplish the leadership role for the best interest of the people.
Over the weekend, and last weekend, I found time on my hands and did a bit of reading on different things: leadership, empathy, humility, and the like. And some of you just said resonates in that. If we have empathy, if we're able to, with genuine honesty and humility, look at something and bring people along, not that the person who dictates and beats can't get a successful outcome, but at the end of the day, if they have empathy, humility, honesty, consistency, integrity, they'll be more sustainable, and that success will be long-lived, right? Is that then, as a people, we're not looking at this from the perspective of we're in Cayman today? Well, where is Cayman 100 years from today? Now, we may not, because of how lifestyle works, we may not be around, but our children or their children, but others will. So is it that we're not forward-thinking, we're not sufficiently grounded to make the sacrifices that our forefathers did that helped to build and put us where we are so we can enjoy today? Are we just about destroying everything now because we won't know?
Yeah, and all future planning needs to be 50 to 100 years.
At least,
Can be
one election to the next.
Every political term.
Yeah.
And seemingly that's this pond we've been swimming in for a very long time. So how do we break that cycle? It's by platforms like this. It's about education. It's about getting innovative, out of the box thinkers and doers that can actually get in and break this cycle.
Yeah. So let me then ask you, as we have this, thank you, man. I really appreciate you sharing your insights. Is then it is for the politician or is it the voter? Because remember now, our premise is that the voter likes to see the politician do something so that the politicians say, boy, I did something and get re-elected, and the politicians say, well, boy, if the voter don't see me do this, I'm going to get elected. So tell me, what is the challenge there?
The challenge is the voter.
The voter.
And we need to educate our voters.
Okay.
All right? And once we educate our voters, that means we can have an educated democracy. Because educated voters will not vote for someone who's shallow and self-serving, or just a gimmick or some sort of a parade or circus they go going on just to get in. If we can educate our voters, who then are geared up towards electing people not only because of a glossy manifesto, but because of substance and structure and a way in order to implement the things that they need. The reality is that there's no perfect system. And until we come to that realization that there's no perfect system, we're not going to be able to embark on that journey in order to get to a point where at least we got people who are actively working on trying to reshape the system to be inclusive of all. Right now we have a system that has been catered to continue to keep things the way they are. You heard what I said in the beginning of the show? I said the forefathers who went to sea, that sent their money back home to their families to shop in the merchant stores that were available back then, that today you can see the writing on the wall of how wealthy those families are, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm telling you that when you look at the wealth that has generated in this country and where it has stayed only in this country, it tells you that we have a fundamental problem with distribution of wealth in this country. Not everybody going to be on the same level. And not everybody want to be on the same level.
Right.
Because what you can do with $10 million, I can do with one. What plate of food you going to order with $10 million that I can't buy with $1 million? Tell me.
Yeah.
So it's about perspective. It's about how you perceive things, how you do things. And if we continue to believe that it's going to change itself, if history ever taught us anything, is that history only repeats itself when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
That's a strong statement and a very true one. It's very, 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 very profound. And if we continue to or pretend or act as if it's going to fix itself, it ain't going to fix itself.
And as you shared, so it's us, the voters, it's us, the general populace, then that we need to take the initiative. Think back to our forefathers, a phrase that I'm familiar with. They made provision. They were sacrificing, but they made provision. Some of us still have that mantra, and we don't live just for today. We, not only set aside for a rainy day. We understand that dollar saved is a dollar earned, but we make provision so that if it's our houses that we're going to expand, just in case, what was it, the nice phrase? Make it solar ready. You're making provision. You may never put it on, but you found out it's cheaper to put it in place so that in case you do it, the conduit is there, right? Proactive, right? Is it then that we are so either distracted and busy, or we're so self-serving that we don't see the importance of taking a second, think, and make provision? Building the road in 50 years that we know will be good, but we can't afford it now, but we've reserved the road corridor. Instead of building on it, as we have allegedly done in some road corridors that have fallen away, or maybe, let's ensure that this area isn't developed in that way or at all, because it would be a good public space. Little things that would make sense, right? A sacrifice now, or a delayed gratification now, or provisioning for the future. Have we lost that? I mean, what is it that makes us...
we can't lose something that we never had.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, and I mean specifically in the planning area.
Right, okay.
Because if you look at the infrastructure, I mean, let's go back to 1985.
Okay.
Let's look at the infrastructure of 1985, right? We see where houses were literally built 2 feet from the road, right? And I don't think that the foresight to allow that sort of development to take place from a planning perspective, and then say 50 years down the road, oh gee, boy, maybe we should have had setbacks from the road areas so that we can accommodate for future growth and population growth and development growth and all these different things that will have a direct impact on our infrastructure. Now, I get it that we can't do anything about those days. But even now, even right now today, I see development being built right next to the road. So
it only for some and not for others.
Yeah, it's hard for us to practice something, right? it's hard for us to do something and practice something that we never done.
Yeah.
Now we that's why I said we need to have more innovated out, because we got a larger harvest of smart people who've gone off and gotten educations and come back, right? And we need to encourage more of them to come home and contribute here.
Can I pick up on that?
Sure.
Is it then a part of the challenge? And if it's okay, just let's use the government departments, just as use them. If we're using the same people in that position, that larger harvest they talk about, if we're still drawing on the same people, they're serving the same committees, they're still in the same positions they're in, we were getting the same ideas, or we're getting ideas from the same people. Is it then that we need to somehow rethink that approach so that we're not constantly just feeding, from the same reservoir? And I'm wondering if we're not willing to extend that, that franchise, expand that pool, that resource, so that whoever it is, isn't constantly. We talk about, for instance, term limits in political circles, right? But a person who is in a position, whether it's a private sector entity, but just use the government, because that's where the policies presumably are generated and implemented. If we're still drawing on the same resource and they're still drawing on their expertise and experiences without expanding on input from others, maybe we're apt to repeat it because we're using the same bait, fishing in the same way with the same line, using the same hook, and not understanding why we're not catching anything different.
Well, if you keep repeating history, you're gonna always get it wrong. You can keep getting it wrong, and that seems to be the issue. What I do know is that we keep talking about getting our kids educated and educating our society and doing all these things. Listen, there's a lot of other fundamental things that need to be fixed prior to doing that, or along with doing that. Because no sense in sending everybody off to get a college degree and an education and come back all
energized,
all equipped to do this thing, but yet the system of reality that they got to come back to deal with has already created a gatekeeper system that, look, you got to be very, very lucky to penetrate.
Yeah. What's interesting is I'm thinking the analogy, I don't know if it's this way in other parts of the world, but in the US they call it interchange, right? So you got 50 lanes coming in, and they bottle into 2 or 3 lanes, and then eventually they span it back out into 15 lanes, that interstate interchange, right? Is that what's happening? We've got all this thing coming in, but then they bottleneck and then not even filtering through. It's just being stopped.
No, well, that wouldn't be called a bottleneck. That'd be called a dead end.
Dead end. So is that even worse?
A bottleneck, at least you trickle through.
Yeah. So we got dead end.
So all I'm saying is, all I'm referring to is this: is that we'll be creating a elitist society by educating all these people, encouraging them to come back, and then we throw them in the battleground of survival in order to penetrate the institutions that they specialize in, and then they have to climb that corporate ladder with all the ancient people who are there who got job protection already secured, because they help design the system that makes sure that your movement is limited to their existence, because that's why you hear them coin the phrase, "Oh, you overqualified." The minute a qualified person goes into an HR for a meeting and they look at the credentials, they do everything, they do the interview, and then they start saying to themselves, "Gee, this person get inside here.
Yeah, that's it for me.
This is the upward. This person gonna be moving upward, and I don't know how I'm gonna be able to stop them. So here, what happened? You overqualified. Have a nice day. We call you. We keep you on file. I don't want. How in the world you gonna be overqualified? If a person showed enough interest in the job to apply for it, that means they obviously need the job. And then for you to tell them that they overqualified, I mean, I'll take an overqualified doctor any day of the week.
Yeah.
I'm not sending that doctor home. You overqualified to do brain surgery? Oh, geez, on peace. You know what? You can't do so. You too good.
Yeah.
Who says this?
Yeah.
How could a person not get a job for being overqualified?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think of a couple of examples just from sort of research papers that certain entities decided that they're going to change their hiring practice, and any job. Now, there's been common interest to the motivations behind it, but the impetus apparently was that the organization said, "Listen, we're going to try to do everything to raise the bar or caliber of our employees, and existing employees will be funded for training and the like. but new employees, no matter the job, we want a certain level of credentials, and if they don't have it, and we can't find anybody, but we think this person has it, we'll bring them on as part of their, my words, probation. They'll be required to get, these skill sets and this certification, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting to see, the longitudinal studies to see what happens. But the little bit I've seen with one organization is that they have found, one, some of those employees, as expected, moved on into other sectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they maintain a very positive view of the organization. But the loyalty that they've inculcated with their employees because of the training and investment, the satisfaction of the staff and the morale, but the sort of customer service and the responses from clients have been phenomenal. And then the profit margins have increased because these employees are bringing a lot of other things, not just the skill sets. Not because you got an education mean that you really know what you're doing, right?
Right.
And I'm watching that to see what's going to happen, but that's not going to take tomorrow. It's going to probably be a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to see that. So, like you said, if the person is qualified and you're training them, not just in the piece of paper, but you give them the expertise, you give them the opportunity, having an overqualified doctor mightn't be a bad thing.
That might be the best thing ever happened. But before I know we can close off, what I will say is this. This is what I would leave you with, or
until next time.
Next time, the listen audience, right? All right. In the Cayman Islands, we don't have a problem with jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We have all the jobs available.
Mm-hmm.
Our problem is that we have not created an environment where fair and equal opportunity is given to those people who are qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about Caymanians, because I'll tell you why. Because our economy and our island need more than the Caymanian harvest in order for it to run.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay? I'm talking about anyone. If there's a situation where a qualified CPA or a qualified lawyer or someone who has gone through the process and have acquired the necessary skill sets, even if they don't have the international experience, these persons should be allowed a fair and equal opportunity to get on-the-job training and be sent to overseas jurisdiction for international exposure and experience. But because we have allowed these institutions to self-regulate and create their own industry in which they work in those parameters, naturally by nature, Sterling, a countryman will look out for his countryman even if he's his worst enemy. So therefore, I can't wrong the citizen who is in a position in an institution that is regulated by him and his colleagues, reaching across the pond and bringing somebody from his flock. I can't wrong him for that. You know why? Because let's reverse the tables. Let's say a Caymanian was in another person's country working in an institution, and I had a similar skill set in a similar field, and he reached across the Cayman and said, hey, you know what? I can get you a job over here. You have a better opportunity here if you want to work. I would appreciate that, and I would go. So I'm not blaming those people. I'm blaming the system that has allowed them to self-regulate and didn't create a fair and balanced environment for everyone to have an opportunity to participate. No Caymanian and no person that would be required for their skill sets to work in an institution should ever be denied.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming in. I thank you. Hopefully people listening would actually take on board and constructive critique and see how we can contribute. Mario, thanks very much.
No problem, man. Thank you too.
All right. To our listeners, just a quick reminder, ucci.edu.ky/Resembid if you want to volunteer, be a part of the mentoring. It's a good way to upskill, make your contribution, help to nurture, empower, educate, inform, instruct, and otherwise, instill in our people a sense of commitment and service. Please join us tomorrow for more talk today, right after the midday news and midday meditation. Got a couple of things that we have in store for you, and maybe you'll be a part of that discussion. Until then, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore